Hello students, today we are going to start with our new topic, macros in a spreadsheet. So what is a macro basically? Whenever we want to do a repetitive task again and again and we want to use it as many times as it is required, we use macros. So basically it is a set of actions. It can be in the form of keystrokes, it can be in the form of any clicks, any type of formatting which we want to do it again and again. For that purpose, we use macros. So what are the advantages? It saves times and effort, and it is very useful when we want to do the same task in the same way again and again. So how can we use the macro? First, we need to record it and then we need to run it. So before recording the macro, in LibreOffice, it should be enabled. So what are the steps to enabling the macro recording? So we have to go to Tools, Options, then there is an option LibreOffice, and then in the advanced there is an option Enable Macro Recording. So from there we need to put a check mark or a tick mark over there to enable it. And then we can start recording. To start the recording, again we have to go to Tools, but now we have to go to Macros option, then Record Macro. So whenever we are going to record macros, some of the actions are not recorded. For example, if we are opening any kind of window, or we are switching the window, or we are using or changes the options in the dialog, or we are only doing some things like cursor traversing using keyboard, right? So these actions are not being recorded, and these macro recorder works only in Calc and Writer. So first is record a macro. After the macro is recorded, whatever action we are performing, we have to run it. So to run a macro, what we have to use is, we have to click on Tools, Macros, Run Macro, and we need to select Library and Module. And then select the macro with the name which we have given and then run it. So how can we record a macro? What are the steps basically? So whenever we click on Tools, Macro and Record Macro, we can start our actions. A small window will open. We can do our action whatever we want, and we can then click on Stop Recording to stop the actions which we are doing. After that, we have to save that macro. To save that macro, we have to name it in the main and in the standard library. So for example, it is module 1 by default. So we can change it with another name and save it. So basically what is the library here? Library is a collection of modules, which in turn is a collection of macros. So in the library there are modules, and in the modules we create macros. So first we need to record a macro, then we need to run a macro. But when we are going to give the name to the macro, or any module or any library, so we have to follow certain rules. First is we have to begin it with the letter. So if we are giving a macro name, the macro name must begin with the letter. It must not contain any spaces. It must not contain any special character except underscore. So this is basically what is a macro and how can we record a macro, and then giving the name to the macro and then running a macro. So let's do it in LibreOffice. So this is my sheet where we are going to run or record a macro. So first we have to record a macro. So where is the option basically? So we will click on Tools. Let's select the cell. Click on Tools. You can see the option macros here, right? But it has enabled. So how it has enabled? First, we have to go to Options. In the option, you can see there's a LibreOffice Calc. Click on plus sign. And after that, you can click on General. You can see the option here, or otherwise you can click on Advanced. In the Advanced, you can see the option is Enable Macro Recording. So I have already tick marked it. Right, so earlier it was not tick mark. By default it is not tick mark. You need to tick mark it to enable the recording and then click on apply and then OK. After that we can use the macro, and then you can see in the macro option, record macro is there. So click on record macro. You can see a small window is there. So my recording has been already started. So I can use here, I can type something here like created by, and then you can write your name here. You can do the formatting. And save it. Right. So this is the macro I want to create. And I click on stop recording. So this is the macro which I want to use it again and again in all the sheets. I don't want to type it again and again. So where I want to save it, you can click on my macros or you can go to standard library. Standard library in the main, I can give the macro name here with the name my macro 1. So no space is given here, no special symbol is given here. I can use underscore here, but I have used my macro 1. And then click on save. So the macro is saved. Now we will go to the next sheet. Right, click on any cell here, go to tools, click on macros, and you can see here run macro. So it is giving me which macro I want to run. Go to standard. So if there is the name was my macro 1, just select the name, go to standard library, go to module 1. So there are some macros available here. So it was saved in, it was selected hello module. So in the hello module, it is saved my macro 1 and then run it. So you can see the macro is available here. So we can set any kind of formatting also with the macro. Like we will select it. First go to tools, macros and record macros. Now here what I want to do, I can just select it. Give it a red color, bold, highlight. So this is what I want, and make the border to all the cells. Save it and stop recording. Now I can give it another name. It was in the hello. Let us give in the standard macro name. Highlight macro and then click on save. Now I want this kind of highlighting here in macro sheet this. So I am going to run the macro. Click on tools, macros, run macro, go to standard. Check in module 1. It is in the hello only which is created. Highlight macro, run. So you can see the formatting can also be applied to any of the sheet. So whatever task I want to do it repeatedly again and again, there is no need to do the task. Just save it in a macro in the form of macro, record it in the form of macro, and you can run the macro whenever you want. So this is our first step, that is recording a macro and then run it in any sheet, anytime, multiple times we can use that basically macro. So next is creating and organizing a simple macro. So we can also create a small macro. Like we want to type the name again and again, and then we will use that macro again and again where we want. For example, we will click on organizer. In the organizer, in the module tabs, we will type something and then use that macro again and again wherever we want. So how to do it, how to organize it? Basically, whenever we are going to create a macro, it is stored in the form of instruction in a programming language. So it is LibreOffice Basic where it is stored. So in that we can edit that particular code and then use our macro there. So what are the steps? Basically, we have to use tools macro. Now we have to go to organize macro. Under that, we have to click on LibreOffice Basic. So one window will open, and in that window, we have to click on organizer. And then we can choose a new library by clicking on new, and then we can choose a new module by clicking on new and give the name to module. Then select that particular module and click on edit. So we will open an integrated development environment in that case. Editor will open where we are going to type the statement which we want to run it, then save it and then run a macro in the spreadsheet. Now let's do it in LibreOffice. So let me have another sheet, tools, macro. Now this time I will go to organize macro. And you can see here the option basic is there. Right. So where I want to make the changes, I will select that part. I will go to organizer first. Right. So it is asking me where I want to edit it. So I have already created a hello. Let's edit it. Select the particular module and click on edit. Otherwise, I can also go to libraries, create new library, then in the modules, create new modules and then edit it. So it is already created. I am going to edit it. So you can see here the macros have been created already. So where I want to write, so I can write here with the print statement. If I want to print any message again and again, so I will use the print statement and then this is the file. So I want this to be written in the macro and I want this to use again and again. So after writing it, remember to click on save. So it is in hello module that you have to remember. After saving it, close it. Now click on tools, macros, run macro. So it is asking me what I want to run, hello. So you can see a dialog box is created like this. This file is created by Sweetcore. Okay, so it will be occur in the form of dialog box. So this is what I want to create. I don't want to type it again and again. I just want to show it whenever the macro is run. So I will click on OK and it's gone. So this is how we can edit the macro. Right. So we have done creating and organizing a simple macro. So we have created a macro with the message statement. It will appear as a dialog box. Next is we can also use macro as a function. So you can see we can print it like this. Print hello we have already done. But this time it is as a function. So earlier we have used the inbuilt function. But now we can create our own function. So basically what is a function? It is a set of code that is executed when we call it. So set of instructions is given a name and then that name has been called. Right. So we can also use the function without argument. We can also use it with calculations, that is also without argument, nothing is in the brackets. We can also use the function with the argument for the calculation. So whatever arguments have been passed in the cell, it will take its value and calculate it and give you the result in that particular cell. So this is using as a function. So let's see it in detail. So when we are using a function, there are two things. First, we need to define a function, then we need to call a function. So to define a function, we have to write the keyword function and then give the function name. It can be any name of your choice, and then we can use the parameter. Any number of parameters can be used, and then we will write here program code. In the program code, we will write function name is equal to result. This is very important. The function name which is given here is taken as a variable on the left hand side, and result will be calculated in the function name. Then after defining it, we need to call it. So we have to call it in a spreadsheet in a particular cell where we want to use it. So with the function name and with the parameters must match. If there are two parameters, there has to be two parameters. If three, then it has to be three in calling. So this is the example given. For example, we have to create a macro to multiply some values or three values. So we need to pass three parameters and then write the function what we want to do. Multiply function name is given here, and multiply is the function name which is used here as a variable. Then in the spreadsheet we need to call it. The same name multiply is given with the cell references. So whenever we are calling a function, it is going to use the values of the cell references is going to pass in these parameters, and then the result has been calculated and the result is there in the cell where we have called. So this is passing arguments to a function, right? So how to do it? So again, we have to click on tools, macro, organize macro, LibreOffice basic, click on organizer. Then from the tools tab, standard library is used. Then we have to give the name to the particular module and then click on edit. These are the same steps which we have used earlier to create a simple macro. Now in the edit, we will see a text editor. In the text editor, we will type the function. We will basically define the function in the form of macro, and then we have to save it and close it. And then the last step is we need to open the spreadsheet where we want to call that macro, and we will use equal to. The area here is the function name and the cell references. After we use this, the result will be obtained in the cell. Let's do it now in LibreOffice. See, I have made a sheet to calculate the area, right? To area, there are two functions created here, area of rectangle and area of triangle. Both needs two parameters, length and breadth. So area of rectangle I have already created. Area of triangle I will show you now. So area of rectangle, for area of rectangle, let's see how it is being created. Click on tools, macro, organize macro, basic. So it is area ODS. Under this area, we have used area module. So we have used as area rectangle. We have given the name as area rectangle. So we can click on edit on the main also. You can see here. So it is outside sub main and admin. Earlier when we are creating a simple macro, we have used print statement inside it, but functions will be used outside it. So this is how we will use. Keyword function is used. Then this is the name of the function. These are the arguments. Again, the function name has been used on the left hand side as a variable. And then it is been calculated with the formula and function, and you have to click on save. Right. So how can we use it? I am closing this window. So how to use it? We will equal to, write equal to area, RECT, area rectangle was the name, and then we will give here cell references. Here it is A5, B5. So A5, B5, bracket close, press enter. So you can see the area has been calculated. So same way we can drag it and it will be shown here for the next cell values. So same formula has been applied. I have created it once as a function name. So basically whenever we have a complex formulas which is not available in the LibreOffice Calc, we need to create our own formulas. So we can also use macros. So we can create macro one time and use this multiple time in any spreadsheet file or in any sheet. So let's create for area of triangle. what we have to use? Go to tools, macros, organize macros, basic. So let us create here in the main. Go to edit. So I will use here function. Let's make it area try B, H. In the same name, area try. It is half base into height. So 0.5 into B into H. Next line, end function. Now after writing it, remember to click on save button. So once it is saved, we can close it. So name is area try. Close it. Now come to this sheet, equal to area try. And what is the cell references here? It is A4, B4. A4, B4. Bracket close, that's it. So half base into height, it is showing me the area of triangles. In the same way, we can drag it and the formula will be applied in the area of triangle. So this is how can we create our own functions, and we can also pass the arguments. Right? So this is all about our macros. So we have learned how to create a macro, how to record a macro, and how to run a macro. So this is the topic under macros. So basically what is the function of a macro is to use it again and again. Create it and use it again and again, run it again and again wherever you want and wherever it is required. So this is all about your macros in a spreadsheet. Thank you.